I have been inspired by Orlando a lot, and I'm excited to be able to try and offer some inspiration myself. Before I get on my script, I'm a person of instant gratification, and so I wanted to give you my golden nugget right up front, and then we'll have 20 minutes of fun and fluff. No matter how long an idea has been brewing inside you, no matter how sure you are, it is fantastic. No matter how many of the logistics you have figured out of your idea, when you present it to someone else, it is brand new. That has saved me many times. In my career of 25 years, it's been my job to present ideas and creativity and new things to other people. I did some math today. I figure about 2,000 ideas presented. I have a pretty successful career in that. So you'd think that would give me some credibility, but each new idea I present is probably 3 weeks or 3 days or 3 minutes old. And so it really has no credibility. When I present it, it's brand new to them. And so it may well get rejected. I have to present it to my senior art director, my creative director, my creative operations manager, my bosses, before it ever is even seen by the client outside the office. And you would think that the rejections would be creative as well, or original. You'd think I'd heard a lot. But I've really heard 3. That'll never fly. That's never been done before. And that's been done before. Sometimes I've even heard all 3 within 5 minutes on the same idea. And while I don't think those are valid no's, the feelings behind them are valid. They're basically code, human code for, I'm afraid of that. That scares me. I don't know what to do about it. And so rather than even try to address that argument, I address those feelings. And one of the kindest things you can do to anybody else in any situation are these 3 words. Tell me more. That does a lot of things right off the bat. It puts it on them, for one thing. It asks them to tell me what they're feeling. What are their objections about it? Meanwhile, it's buying me time while I figure out what to do next. So that is my golden nugget of this talk about how to get ideas bought by other people. I think idea is a 4-letter word, and so is risk. And I think to a lot of people they sound very similar right off the bat. So, but we can get past that. Let's see. As a young child of the 70s, I would be put down for a nap in the den, which is the room that was covered with the prevalent trend of the times, plywood paneling. Much like this room. But I certainly couldn't fall asleep with all the, the monsters. You know the monsters I'm talking about? How about now? Who could sleep with these guys lurking around? I would see faces in the wood paneling, and it would scare me. So in order to reconcile with these monsters enough to be able to sleep, I first enlisted empathy. I thought to myself, if I was trapped in a tragic decorating decision like that, I'd be open-mouthed upset too. I also listed connection and relationship, wondering if maybe these monsters aren't evildoers pursuing me, but are in fact friends guarding me from any actual evil. And once I could entertain these possibilities, I could relax and take a nap. A few months ago, my coworkers and I were in a particularly long and grueling brainstorming session. Luckily, there were snacks. Juicy, refreshing tangerines, and as my mind started to wander away from what I was supposed to be focusing on, I began noticing how everybody was unraveling those tangerines, each peeling them their own way. And that observation entertained me for a minute, and then I wandered further until somehow I looked down and this had happened. This is what I had done with my orange peelings without even realizing it. And I don't know if you can see, there's a face there. Orange Julius there. 2 eyes and a nose and a mouth. Luckily, I still have my job, even though I pull these shenanigans sometimes. And at the end of that day, sitting so much, I decided I would walk home instead of drive. And on my way home, I tried playing a face-finding game, finding faces in inanimate objects. I had a lot of fun, not only seeing the usual beauty around me, meandering through downtown and Lake Eola and Thornton Park, but I also having to look up and look down. Looking at things differently. Also looking like a total weirdo, taking pictures of road grates and things like that. Yeah, this one looked like Jabba the Hutt to me. 2 eyes and a nose. I love this one. This one, these objects were sitting on the table, but they weren't arranged this way. So I arranged them like this and took a picture. And when I got home from my journey, I did about a 2-minute research on Google and found out there's something called pareidolia, which means people who see faces in inanimate objects. This revealed studies and opinions of facing people as having traits of empathy, connection, relation, but the trait that showed up most often, neurosis. Women's Day published this article. Do you see faces in inanimate objects? Here's what's wrong with your brain. Thanks, Women's Day. I see a face in that picture. And then I put a middle finger in front of it. There's nothing wrong with my brain. Several neurotic people throughout history have managed to connect the dots and see this. I imagine others just as reasonably saw this. And bless his heart, some guy took a look at this, and from it he saw and created this. Also, any child who's ever sat in a doctor's office, waiting room, and read Highlights magazine has been dutifully trained to do this. So when you look at the photos I took on my walk home that day, maybe you saw 1 or 2 that were kind of iffy. Not sure that worked. Or maybe you saw 1 or 2 and you thought to yourself, no, that's cheating. You're not allowed to do that. It's my game, my rules. And yet we all carry around this set of unwritten rules or constraints or self-censorship. And for the good of society, that often is a really good and important thing. But I ask you to just consider taking on the practice of noticing when you're doing that. And ask yourself, is this a good thing? Is this what's important? And perhaps, maybe, this is a time when the rules and constraints are just bogging me down, not serving me. And that I've got something that would do well to come out and maybe change the world. Also, in thinking about those photos, maybe you told yourself, that doesn't work, and with all due respect, I'm not going to ask you what you thought was wrong with it. Frankly, I don't want to hear it. Tell me instead, how could it work? Do you have any idea about something that could be modified to make it work? Now, I've just taken you naysayers, it's never been done before, that won't fly. And I have engaged you. I've recruited you as my helpers. Now you're invested. People naturally love to help, and they love coming up with ideas. Sometimes we just forget what is helpful. Now, on to public art and public transportation. Who can finish the sentence, the trouble with public art is, or the problem with local transportation is, yeah, I haven't ever met anyone who can't finish those sentences. Frankly, none of us really want to hear it, though. It's human nature. It's important to be critical. But we can get stuck there sometimes and lose hope. I imagine Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s first draft of his speech might have been, "Here's what's wrong," or "I have a complaint." But that's not the speech that ignited the world. It was, "I have a dream. I have a vision of something better. Some things that have never been done before. I have hope." And that's a guy we can't help but get on board with. There are other forces in my life who push me toward hope and creativity, despite my fears, by asking, what went well? What's good about this? Right now, as it is, and what could be better? Or, you know what would be awesome? And because I'm one of those people who has a hard time not finishing other people's sentences, I will jump to say, yeah, I know it would be awesome, and then I'll figure out something to say to fill in that blank, because it's fun. You know what would be awesome? That's a great invitation. There's an organization called the Awesome Foundation. There are chapters all over the world. Each chapter is just 10 people in a community who come together, pool their resources, and enable a microgrant of $1,000 every month to any idea that finishes that sentence. What would make this community more awesome? When I heard about this opportunity with the Awesome Foundation here in Orlando, I was like, wow, that's amazing. I went to their website. Slides, Nicki. Okay, here we go. I went to their website. theawesomefoundation.org. There's a big pink apply button right there as soon as you get there. And they just ask 3 questions. Tell us about your project, how you use the money. Tell us a little bit about you. That's it. There's no page 2, tell us what sucks. There's no qualifications such as how old are you? What's your title or level of education? Have you ever been arrested? Who of importance can vouch for you? That's it. And that's how Art is Moving on Sunrail was born for me. I had held several seemingly separate ideas or complaints, whinings in my head for a long time. On the one hand, I wish there was more public art. I wish local, talented, creative people who don't have fame or access to galleries could still somehow get exposure and opportunities to showcase their great work. Also, I wish more people could see what I've seen in the local talent here in Central Florida that attracts and grows and inspires. I wish our local culture embraced public transportation more. Also, I wish our local public transportation was better and easier to embrace. I wish Sunrail would run late at night and on the weekends and went more places. But Sunrail says it needs more riders first to do this. And the riders need more routes and time and so on. And by the way, while I'm at it, I just wish difference and diversity in people and things were more appreciated. And that people were as enlightened in this way as I am. Don't worry, that's going to come back and bite me in a minute, I promise. And while I'm at it, I wish world peace would just hurry up and get here too. And the Awesome Foundation asked, and so I said, what if this steaming pile of problems and complaints are actually each other's solutions? If we could somehow get magnificent, original art on public transportation, local artists could be promoted, more folks could see it and enjoy it. More people would hop on the train just to see the art. Ridership would go up. And because once they've written it that first time, they are statistically more likely to get on again and again. They'll see what's great about Sunrail already, as well as how much better it could be. And strangers, instead of isolated in their own cars, raging, angry in traffic, or drunk, or stuck at home because they don't have a car, can't drive, strangers who look different and have differences will instead be sitting together with seemingly nothing in common until one of them can't help but comment on a piece of art right next to them. Maybe say, what the heck is that? Is it a tree? And the other odd-looking stranger might say, I don't know, I thought it was supposed to be a face. A face, where? Well, here. Oh, now I see. And now I see the tree. And now I see you. Not the turban you're wearing. Not the same-sex lover you're holding hands with. Not your disability, your age, or your skin color. I see a face. I see a person. No two faces in the tree. That's our reflections. Two strangers who've had a shared common experience, and so they don't think of each other as quite so strange anymore. I've had a lot of ideas all my life, some good, many horrible. As a kid, I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we put paint in water guns? Yeah, that'll never fly. Or what if we could fart glitter? Actually, I think I heard something a couple weeks ago, and never mind, I'm off track. As an adult, I have driven my wife, Rachel, crazy with my neurotic sense of failure. And she asks me, when will it be enough? What does success look like, if not this? You've won awards, people showed up. And I began to realize who showed up over and over, doing all the work with me, always at my side. She showed up. And that makes me the most successful person, in my mind, in the world. And also, I showed up. Maybe that's enough. I said yes, I showed up. I made something of it. I still struggle with the perceptions of success, that's for sure. But I'm learning, it's getting better. Of course, the first thing I did before I applied for the awesome foundation grant was to tell my wife, Rachel. She loved it, supported it, has been an integral part from the beginning. And I do. I now count that as success enough. A few months after I applied, the Awesome Foundation called and said they would like to grant me the money. Wow. They said, we just have one question, Nicki. Can you do this? And without thinking, I blurted out, oh, I have no idea. And instead of just hanging up on me, they said, why don't you think about it? And when you know, call us back. We like your idea. And then it was shortly after that that the Pulse massacre happened. This felt like an utter failure of humanity to me. Personally, I was stricken with a fear I'd never had before. I stopped holding my wife's hand in public. I stopped being out, putting myself out there. I stopped going out. There was no expression of love or creativity of any kind of vulnerability that I wanted to put out there. And I didn't care to ever make anything again. But through and with our fear, Rachel and I went to that vigil at the end of the week in search of something beyond fear and hopelessness. The visuals and posters saying, Muslims love people, Orlando strong, Orlando united. And this one, keep kissing. And my first thought was, hell no. No, I can't do that. Don't tell me what to do. They were so sure, though, in their faces, so determined, so strong, and smiling. And slowly I found my expression again. I was determined to do that for her. Orlando busted out all over the place with rainbow flags and sidewalk chalk and sketch projects and dancing videos and displays of solidarity worldwide. Big, beautiful, gay art exhibits right here in this library. These loving, creative, artistic expressions saved us. They brought us back and took us someplace new. This was a city that really could surely embrace my idea of art as moving. They called me back in November. And again, they said, can you do it? And this time I blurted out, yes. Yes, I can. Nothing had changed. I still didn't know how I was going to get it done. I said yes, and I figured I'd finish the sentence later. So they gave me $1,000. Now I'm on my way, except now I was too chicken to call Sunrail. I've never talked to or pitched the idea to them. I just need to call or email those folks next. It took 4 weeks of hand-wringing and procrastination until I finally decided to call United Arts of Central Florida. Not that I knew anyone there either, but I got a guy on the phone and explained my idea that I'd love to have this coincide with their art events that are coming up pretty soon. And he said yes. I'll call the folks at Sunrail, and I'll call you back. Really? Okay. 5 minutes later, he called me back with 3 other people from Sunrail on the phone on a conference call who said, "This is what we've been looking for." Oh my God. And they got it. They really got it. They got why this enhances ridership and local artists and Central Florida and world peace. I'm pretty sure they got that. But there's always a but. FDOT regulations are very important. And only certain trained vendors are allowed on this, and then we'll have to do that, and it has a trajectory, and the Klingons that Rachel had thought of to get this art, it was this, that's gonna fall off, and no, and no. So I just let them think about that. Tell me more, Sunrail. And they said, also, by the way, it's gonna cost $10,000, not $1,000. Okay, tell me more. This would have been a great time for them to say no, but they didn't. I engaged them in conversation. They said, well, maybe if we do this, and maybe if we do that. And now they're creating, they're giving ideas. And really, they are making my idea a success through this discussion. They found ways to make it happen. They took a leap. They took that risk. They found a way. And United Arts found more money. And everybody came together to make it happen. So quickly that as we were all, these factions were working together, finding money, figuring out the logistics, lots of hiccups and workarounds, I put the call to artists out there, and the deadline was quick enough to make our rather lofty installation deadline goal to coincide with the Winter Park Art Festival. And we got an email from somebody, from another arts organization in one of the other counties that we were reaching out to. And she was very angry. We hadn't publicized this well enough and given ample time in order for this opportunity to be inclusive of all artists in all the Sunrail counties. And I'd stopped reading the rest of her email. I just heard, no, fail. I failed. And by this woman, by the way, this woman is a monster, I'm pretty sure. And the first draft of the email response I wrote in my head was very righteous and very defensive and very angry. Luckily, I didn't hit send on that one. Instead, I took the self-imposed cooling off period until I realized that this monster was basically me, a staunch advocate for local artists who sees a way that things can and should be better and is going to jump up and down and shout and call out a better way and make something of it. She's not a monster. So the email response I actually wrote after my cooling off period had some I'm sorry and some thank you. And please know that Sunrail is actually doing an awesome job. And this is my bad too, and I'm here. And what do you suggest? How can we fix this? And then she was enlisted as another one of our helpers. Sunrail had done good. They had acted quickly, amazingly, through all of this. And then they bought a week and extended our deadline. We received over 100 entries from all 5 counties. We chose 34, and about 10 days later, this was launched. I think I have pictures of it. You can see it on the inside and outside. I watched these 2 women get on the train, and they were in this great conversation, and but they just stopped and they looked around and decided what did they want to sit next to the most. And I just thought that was so fun to watch them engage with it that way. I invited members of the Orlando Gay Chorus to come and sing on the train for opening day, because I don't want just visual art, but also performance art, and art is moving. But I'm a little nervous putting a bunch of gay guys on a train to sing Come On Baby, Do the Locomotion. Yeah, I felt a little protective of them. What if somebody doesn't like it? What if somebody messes with them? So I'm nervous, but it's going well. Writers keep surprising me with how receptive and excited they are about this unexpected surprise. And this ensemble, they call themselves Out Loud. They were irresistibly engaging, even with staunch, busy, tired people at the end of the day. And then these two young, brown-skinned guys in hoodies and construction outfits get on at one stop. They got their lunch coolers and their boots, and they barely see the faces under. I can barely see their faces under the hoodie. They look tired and cranky. I'm not sure if they speak English. I get a little worried. Remember how I said I wished other people were as enlightened as I was? This was that moment. Here was my prejudice showing. When these guys started tapping the rhythm of the song on the table and smiling, and then they got up to help me when I couldn't figure out how to use my camera, and this is them there. This is one of the guys at the bottom. He's adorable, isn't he? And he just wants to jump in and be in the picture. I just loved it. This project had an effect on me too. It's an experiment, and Sunrail and United Arts and the Awesome Foundation and the people I work with at TKO all adopted that attitude. It's been well received. We've planned more things, and we're succeeding. And we've made mistakes, and we've learned from them, and we're tweaking. This isn't happening anywhere else in the country. It's never been done before. That's quite a success. I'm confident that it will grow here and elsewhere. But something like this has just been launched in Paris, France, and the Bullet Train in Japan. Two of the most prestigious cities with the most prestigious trains in the world. It's been done before. We are well aligned with others to succeed. I have to just put out there, if you happen to have $10,000 you'd like to contribute toward art, local public transportation, and world peace, we can cover another car of the Sunrail with Art is Moving, quickly, efficiently, and inclusively. I want to just leave you with this. Some perceived monsters are your friends, whether they want to be or not. A playground bully harassing you, and you try to push back and they say, "You gonna make something of it?" Maybe that's not a threat from a monster. Maybe that's an opportunity to reply, "Yeah, thanks for asking. I am. I'm gonna make something of it." Thanks, you guys.